Welcome to another episode of Federo Speaks. This is a very, very important episode as it is our season finale. Woohoo! And part two to our last week's conversation on addiction. This week we're going to be talking about addiction, the disease of addiction to food, stealing, shopping, and gambling. Again, because none of us are definitive experts, we're all going to just be sharing our own personal stories, own personal testimonies as it relates to these particular diseases, understanding that they are diseases and understanding that these are complex topics, that impacts our lives both directly and indirectly, profoundly, and, exercising a level of sensitivity to that, to just share our story in hopes that someone could get something out of it, perhaps, be encouraged that you can overcome, to understand also that you're not alone, and that this is a disease that is curable, that you can overcome, and, to kind of push, if we can, encourage people's hearts and minds to understand that they can overcome it, because sometimes you can feel like you can't. So with that said, I want to introduce my panelists. First, we have Miss Delisha Gibson, who's going to be our primary facilitator for today. Delisha, would you take the opportunity to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Delisha Gibson, as introduced by Federo. I am part of the executive board for PWP, and we welcome you today. We hope that you hear something or feel that you can comment on something, or that we commented on something that you've lived and overcome in your life and have victory in it. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Delisha. I got to get it right. I know I called that. Okay, you already know.
Just call me hey.
You already know.
I already know.
Next, we have my heart, Mama Angie, another executive board member. And you would just take the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Federo Speaks. I'm also a part of the board of Paint the World, and I'm just thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. Next up, we have my big brother from another mother in the form of Darren Calhoun. Darren, would you take the opportunity to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. So good to be here. As always, joining from Chicago and ready to start some trouble.
All right. We like trouble. We like trouble. Yes. Let's make this last episode spicy. Dun, 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 dun. I see the horns coming out too, Darren. Come on.
It's holding up my halo.
I see it. Last but not least, we have my other brother in the form of Antwan Johnson, who will be joining us in season 2 as a permanent panelist. Antwan, would you take the opportunity to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Antwan Johnson. As Mr. Brown had said, I am grateful to be a permanent panel member and look forward to speak to everybody.
All right. Thanks, Antwan. Thank you for joining, and thank you for your consistency and commitment to the show. We appreciate your support. All right, so let's dig in. Part 2 on this conversation of addiction. We're going to toss the mic over to my sister from another Miss Delisha Reese-Gibson.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, again, welcome everyone to the part 2 of addiction. And Federo is going to help us out because he's going to actually give us the definition first of the addiction. And then we're just going to talk about it and discuss it and communicate about it. So the first one on our list is food addiction. A lot of people don't think that food is an addiction, but it actually is. And so Federo, we're going to hit it back to you to give us a definition so we can talk about it.
Awesome. So first up, I want to define what addiction is. Addiction is a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and an individual's life experiences. Addiction is treatable, and people with addiction use substances or engage in behaviors that become compulsive and continue despite harmful consequences. Prevention efforts and treatment approaches for addiction are generally as successful as those for other chronic diseases. So, as it relates to food addiction and understanding that it is a disease, so let me pull up. I thought I had it up. Okay, so let me just start it off like this. The idea that a person can be addicted to food has recently increasingly gained support. It comes from the fact that the brain imaging and other studies of effects of compulsive overeating on the effects of the pleasure centers in the brain. Experiments in animals and humans show that for some people, the same reward and pleasure centers of the brain that are triggered by addictive drugs like cocaine and heroin are also activated by food, especially highly palatable foods, including foods that are high in sugar, fat, and salt. Like addictive drugs, highly palatable foods trigger feel-good brain chemicals such as dopamine. Once people experience pleasure associated with the increase of dopamine transmission in the brain's rewards pathways from eating certain foods, they quickly feel the need to eat again. And I'll pass it back over to you, Delisha.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I have had experience and most recently experience with food addiction. I will say that I didn't think food could be addictive because in my mind, for me specifically and personally, I felt that if I put the word addiction on something, that was not me. I'll just put it like that to just be frank and transparent. When you think of addiction, you think of something that is you're harming yourself. But we do not realize that when you are addicted to food, you are harming yourself with food. And my weight in my recent experiences, I've been vegan for 6 months now. I became a vegan because of my health issues. I was at 402 pounds, and now I'm down to 357, I want to say, as of yesterday. And God has really given me the energy and the know-how. But I will also say that I took therapy. I do have a dietitian that I have been seeing and that I have been talking to. And really, after seeing her, I did not realize that I was addicted to food or that overeating can be compulsive. And I just thought it was just like, hey, I just want to eat, and I was the kind of person that I ate when I was sad, happy, all between above and below. Okay. It's like number E, all the above. That's how I ate. It did not matter what mood or emotion I was in. I just, felt that, food was something that I had. But recently through therapy, I realized that my addiction literally came from my childhood. in my grandmother, my fraternal grandmother, not allowing and giving us the food that was allowed to my cousins. And she was their foster mother because my auntie was addicted to drugs. And to make a long story short, I never knew that. I went under hypnotherapy and I was just like, hypno, this is not for Black people. But hey, it got me to the root, and I'm being transparent. We've always been transparent on the panel. I was like, she wants to hypnotize me, but it wasn't that kind of thing where, you know, you Houdini and all this other kind of stuff you would think of. But it was just to get you to really go back in your mind and find the reason or the event that we don't think of it like that. The event that really traumatized you and put you in that place where I'm 51 and now I'm just realizing that I'm addicted to food. And I did it because I had someone that I loved that told me basically like, you're not good enough to have the food. So when I got my own money, hey, I'm gonna eat anything and everything I want, no matter how much I eat it. You know, I don't, you know, and I've always exercised, lost weight, exercised, lost weight. So that was never a problem. But the problem was I never saw and understood that, again, food can be an addiction. And being a vegan, I'm now understanding there's research and there's science behind the stuff that they put in food. And so there are addictive properties in a lot of foods that we do eat. So not only do I have my hormones and my emotions and stuff making me eat, but I have properties that they're putting in the food to make it more addictive, where I don't want to give it up. I want to fight it. You know, they say fight the flesh, but it really is. You're really fighting your flesh to not eat cheese or whatever the case may be, or whatever you know is your culprit. Everyone has a different culprit, but I will say that again, food is a real addiction, and some people don't want to put it in the category of its addiction, but it is by the definition that Federo gave. It is an addiction. So I just want to give someone else the chance to give their input on if they've had or experienced a food addiction. Darren?
Yeah, food addiction isn't necessarily the way I experience my own expression of addiction, but what you're saying is it resonates so much. And I just wanted to even call back to attention what you mentioned about the perception of Black people don't do fill in the blank, right? Black people don't do hypnotism. Black people don't do therapy. Black people don't get addicted to food. We just like to eat what we like to eat. These are the attitudes that so many of us grew up around, so many of us experienced, that keep us from seeking out the kind of help that we need. And for good, sometimes for good reason, right? We commonly experience having doctors and therapists and clinicians not believe us or dismiss our pain, underestimate or trivialize what we're struggling with, and just say, oh, you just need to try harder. No, like I'm really glad that you had someone, or you were able to find someone and receive from them, listening to what your experience was, right? And then that other piece of how our social context or our familial context, what was going on with your family, like I don't know your family, and it might have been there were some very strict policies that kept the food from being shared, or there might have been some messed up like personal values. And either way, you experienced the trauma and it affects you. And realizing that there's some small, quote unquote, small things that happen that really, really do stay with us. So I really appreciate your transparency and sharing that with us.
Oh, well, thank you, Darren. And I thank you for sharing that with us as well. Did anyone else want to speak on the food addiction?
I have a question.
Okay.
What are certain signs? I know you mentioned that, in your experience, you ate whether you were happy or sad. Other than just overeating, what could be some of the signs of a food addiction?
Hiding. That is one of the things of food addiction. I've always dieted again. And one of the things that I would do is I would tell people to hold me accountable. hey girl, I'm dieting, you see me with a Pepsi or you see me with something you don't think I need to have or I'm eating, then tell me. But it got to the point where when sometimes people can be very harsh. They think they're helping you and aiding you in what you've asked them to do, but the delivery can sometimes not be what you need or expect in that moment. So it made me high. And so that's one of the things, instead of telling someone that I was going to get a double cheeseburger, a fry, and a drink or whatever case may be, or I spent $200 within 2 weeks on fast food or going to get fast food, I would hide it. And so when they was like, oh, well, what are you eating or whatever, am I complaining like, I haven't, lost weight, I would be like, oh, I'm hiding. And it's not just, hiding that one time that I ate, but it's continuing to hide. So that's part of the addiction, is because you don't want people, you tell people you want them to help you heal, but in reality, you don't want to hear the backlash. You just want to hear the pretty stuff, and then you feel like they're demeaning you. They're coming down on you too hard, or they're not saying anything. But it's so much self-healing that has to come along with that, because you really have to change your mindset. So it's not just about eating the food. It's about something that's driving you to eat that food. And that's the culprit. And that's in mostly everything, because they say when you're addicted to one thing and you actually give up that addiction and you're working on it and living through it each and every day, just like if you went to, not AAA, but AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous. If you went to there, they would say one day at a time. Same way with food, same way with any addiction, I would say, and have experienced. One day at a time. We always want to take the microwave journey of thinking that we're going to get there, and we don't allow ourselves to sit in it and to allow ourselves to take it day by day and grow in it. With everything, we think it's going to happen overnight. And so that's part of hiding. And another part is lying. I mean, with food, you have some of the same addictive notes that you would have, again, with AA or actually using drugs. You do those same things, those same culprits come along with food. And it's no different. Some people, especially in the Black community, we don't want to face the word addiction, because that's not something that we do, but it is something real. And now that I've become vegan, like Darren spoke earlier, it's a fight against Black people, because they're like, you don't have to go that far. My doctor has not been any help. Her thing was get bariatric surgery. Oh, and then, outright told me, oh, you can't on your own. You will never. Okay, that was her words. You will never lose 200 pounds on your own. That's not doable. That's not believable. And it won't happen. And so you have everyone, coming, their family like, oh, you ain't eating no meat. It's like I said, it fuels you to be like, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. But then you think about it, you're like, okay, when I'm breathing heavy, feel like I'm about to pass out, can't stand for 2 minutes, where are these people? Well, and their family, friends, because they don't understand. They think that, giving up soul food and giving up stuff. Yeah, I'm eating greens, but I'm making it in a different way. I'm eating sweet potatoes, making it in a different way. I'm eating mac and cheese, making it in a different way. But instead of supporting me, helping me heal, and understanding the journey, unfortunately, I feel like that's been my biggest fight, is against other Black people that now I choose to eat and live this way. But I know I went off a little task, I'm sorry. But like I said, the food addiction is just like any other addiction. You have all of your slopes, your downfalls, and everything. And it's a fight to get through it, just like it's a fight not to have a drink, just like it's a fight not to snort some cocaine. It is a fight not to pick up a chicken wing and that it has saturated oil, whatever it is that's been your culprit, whatever it is. Like I have high blood pressure and I'm pre-diabetic. So I'm fighting 2 diseases On top of me not saying, okay, I have to eat like a bird. Oh, I'm depriving myself or whatever. But now I've learned that I have to eat to live, not live to eat.
I like that. I like that.
Yes. So that was part of my journey. And I'm noticing that I thought, my journey was something else. But now that I'm going through this journey with the food, I'm like, okay, God, you're changing my voice and journey to now go into this, because I'm one person and I see the struggle and the things that I'm going through. And now when someone tells me this, I have the language and understanding and empathy to help them. And to, especially when a doctor tells you something like that, and it's not just one doctor, it's two Black African-American doctors, specifically in this hospital that does not have a big hospital of African-American doctors at all. And you go to two of the maybe five, and they're telling you like, oh, when I took vegan stuff to them, they was like, you don't need, what you need that test for? One doctor said, oh, it's because you're fat. So you're going to be high in this or that. And I was just like, what? It's unbelievable of what the health industry, and that I've been dealing with the health industry, and even going to the dietitian, she was expensive. Let me get that part in there. She was expensive. And I did a 6-month with her, but I was only able to do 3 months. And that was almost a deterrent. But I remember what God had told me. He said, hey, take this way, go this way, do this, put this money here, put this money there. And I'm listening to him. And there was times I was like, Lord, this don't seem right. This a lot of money. And that was another thing I couldn't get past. Was my health worth the money that I was, complaining about spending? But when I looked at it, the money I had spent on my food addiction surpassed that money that I paid the dietitian in order to live, versus when I was killing myself with the food.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so hard in that, Black women especially just are not believed. And everyone's journey is different, right? Like for some people, bariatric surgery or different kind of things are an important next step, but it's not a cure-all. And what I've been seeing, especially, thank God for TikTok and people just getting more places to share their stories. A lot of times people have to make their doctor record. If I ask for this test or for this kind of check and you said no, record it in my file, put in there why you won't give it to me. And for a lot of people, that makes them change and rethink their decisions, because they can be dismissive. So I'm glad that you were able to advocate for yourself. I'm glad that you were able to kind of stay on the path that's best for you. Because that's what's so hard. People kind of do these one size fits all. Well, I don't believe in that, so nobody should be doing it. It's like, no, you might not believe in being vegan, but that doesn't mean no one else can be vegan. That doesn't mean no one else can do it in a healthy way. Yes. So yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. I mean, and it's been a fight. I mean, she gave me the test, begrudgingly. I'll say it just like that, begrudgingly. Was like, well, I'll put it in your chart. You can go and get it if you want to, but it's gonna tell you, I already know what it's gonna tell you. Well, guess what? Let me go and get it. And hopefully, I'm praying almost, and I'm not trying to be begrudgingly to her, but I'm hoping that it tell her something different from what she just assumed it was.
I know I've had what I now recognize as sugar addiction. I didn't know that sugar was a drug. Oh my God. Because everything, especially as kids growing up, is saturated with sugar. Like you find more boxes of cereal that are 90% sugar. One of my friends told me he ate some Captain Crunch Allberry and then discovered that it was 90% sugar.
Yes.
And I didn't realize how no one taught us, no one sat us down. I don't know where this information was. Don't give them babies that sugar. The Kool-Aid, the pop, the candy, the nanolators. Listen, I have damaged some of my teeth irreparably because of this drug we call sugar that is free and readily available, which at some point in history was considered a drug.
Yes.
It was considered a drug, and they understood that the addictive properties of sugar, especially when consumed in high volumes. And for some reason, the world, especially, I'm going to say our culture, I'm not even making a world thing, our culture hasn't gotten the memo. It seems like we're slowly getting there, slowly providing, different, but then we're finding these weird alternatives. And it's like, so you trade in one chemical for something else you don't know. And then you find out, you didn't put another poison in your body. So it's really been a journey for me to condition, and I'm still on that journey. I find sugar in other forms, such as fruit, so that at the very least it's coupled with vitamins and some nutritional value. But I still love my gummy savers.
Yes.
Lord, we know you love them gummy savers. And them gummy bears and all the gummies. Yes. No shade, just tea. The thing though is our bodies do need and crave glucose because there's a certain amount of it that we need, right? Like there are no good foods or bad foods. It's how we use them, how we're getting them, how bioavailable they are, all this kind of stuff. And so the thing is for us, especially with food, it's not like you could just say, okay, well, I'm just not going to eat anymore. It's not how any of this works. This is the same kind of thing with, like, for me, with sex and love addiction. Like, it's not that I can just not love people or anymore, but instead, how do I have a healthy relationship to the things and do something that's in balance and proportion? And so when it comes to understanding that our bodies crave certain things because it needs things and it's trying to come into what's called homeostasis or balance, it's figuring out how do I address the craving, which is good. Your body's it's built that way to crave certain things, but it's not built to, when we crave sugar, have 400 grams of it in, the Captain Crunch. It might be getting the fruit, or it might be, again, finding that healthy way to meet your natural need so that you don't create the imbalances. Because the other part of having too much of something is that when your body knows it has too much of it, so it releases insulin, it tries to balance it out, which can put you in deficit. Yes. And now you're doing the seesaw thing because you're going from being like full of energy to like not having enough at all. And so the difference is having this healthier way forward rather than an all or nothing, or sugar is all together bad. It's like, no, there was an industry that said, oh, we know how to make things look healthy. Label everything sugar-free. Because that's that flip side, right? We had all this sugar-free stuff
that's going to lead to cancer in it to make you feel better.
Right. And so it's like, it's not simply picking one thing and just eliminating it. Yeah. It is, how do we have healthy amounts and healthy balance so that we don't go from fat-free, sugar-free, and then 20 years later find out we need healthy fats, we need healthy amounts of sugar. We just don't need some of the other stuff that we need, because you got to follow the money on this.
That's been my biggest fight, being a vegan. Because right now I'm trying to do what they call SOS, and which is no sugar, no oil, and no salt. But like Darren said, it's been a battle to find out what I can naturally eat. And it's kind of simple. The part that tripped me out was, if we go back to the way our great grandparents ate, let me tell you, you would be finding yourself eating a lot of things that are actually vegan, because a lot of them did not eat a lot of meat. A lot of them to this day don't eat a lot of meat. They eat greens, they eat sweet potatoes, they eat herbs, and see, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So if we go, like I said, great grandmother and one below her, if we would go back to the way they ate, but then that brings on the subject of food deserts and being able to even get vegetables. You would not believe on the south side, east side of Chicago, how hard it is to go find a grocery store that's not going to charge you $10 for a 2-ounce bag of something. Okay. And it's almost like you're paying to eat healthier. You're paying to, you know, and I'm gonna tell you this, and this is not fair. This is my opinion. It's also a battle for African Americans versus Anglo and Caucasian Americans. They have every accessible opportunity to have Trader Joe's, to have Whole Foods right on the corner for them. And we have to drive to Orland Park, which is almost 25 miles from the city of Chicago, to get all those stores in one place where they have it right at their footsteps. And then not only that, there's a movie called Invisible Vegan, because they don't see Black people as being vegan. They're trying to put the face of vegan being Caucasian, and it's not, because Africans in Egypt was eating that kind of diet way back then. That's why Africans, you don't even see them eating a lot of meat. They eat goat and fish and some things or whatever. But if you look at a real African's diet, or Jamaican's diet, Trinidadans diet, you won't see all of that stuff. That's why they have their own stores. You know, and the thing is, like Federo was talking about, our culture in America has integrated everywhere else around the world. And now Asian people are dealing with diabetes, you know, of course, Indian people are dealing with diabetes. They are so, but again, like Dr. Columbus Batiste, he's a cardiologist, and Dr. Eric Walsh, they have a podcast called Slave Food Project. They talk about the addictive properties in food deserts. It is so much. And like I said, the food is addicting, because I went through withdrawal. I was crying because I couldn't have a chicken wing. I was like, this is not living. This is not life. And the Holy Spirit kept saying, do you want to live, or do you want that chicken wing? You're going to have to make the choice whether that chicken wing is worth you having high cholesterol or not, for me specifically. And that's what I'm learning too, to each his own in this battle. But the thing is that if anyone was to ask me a question, I would be more than capable and ready to give them the information to be like, hey, this is what I did, but do with it what you can with it, but please tailor it to yourself, but still make sure that you're trying. And that's the thing that I'm battling now, is that I have to keep going. I just talked over with my husband, like, you know, even though I've lost this weight and I've never lost this much in my life, it's like I'm getting weary into eating, and I'm eating the same thing over and over. And it's like, open up your mind, open up your recipe book, you know, open up I got 4 or 5 recipe books in there, and I'm maybe made 2 or 3 out of them, if that much. Again, reading is fundamental. So again, it's a lot of stuff that goes with it. And so, like I said, it's the food addiction is real. That's the first and foremost thing I really want to get. It's real. And it's real specifically for African Americans, because we don't want to give something up. And then if we do something, we might have a misunderstanding of it. Like you were saying, oh, sugar this, sugar that. If you're eating a natural apple compared to that gummy, believe me, that apple is not going to beat you down like that gummy will.
I want the gummy.
So, not trying to get on you, but what I'm saying is I'm working on the same thing. Brother, I'm working on the same thing because I have to keep telling myself. And like I said, that's part of fighting that flesh, because it's like your flesh is like, girl, go on get that chicken. But your body is saying, do you want to go back there? Do you want to go back there? Or do you want to leave your husband a widow? Do you? You have, those are some hard questions you have to ask yourself in the throes of an addiction. Yeah. Do you want, is that high? Is that drink? Is that chicken wing more than living? And that's the battle. That's the fight. That's where the addiction really comes in, is when you have to act. It's a choice. And whichever one you make is the way that you're going to end up going.
And I want to just also put in here, socially, we use words all kinds of ways really casually, right? Like we say, oh, I'm addicted to shopping, and it just means I really like something. Mm-hmm. And when we're talking about addiction, we aren't simply talking about really liking something. If we pay attention to Delisha's story, having that moment where your life is affected by whatever the thing is that you can't let go of, where you're emotionally affected, where like she talked about hiding food. Like this is the kind of thing that we would call or we might refer to as like disordered. It's not just, oh, I really, really like this thing and I feel a little bad when I don't have it. We're talking about like, my day doesn't go on, or I'm late to stuff, or I am like deathly afraid of people understanding how bad my situation is. That's when we're talking about addiction. It's so, because again, we just toss words around all the time, and we be like, ha ha ha, oh, it's not that bad, because we're not really talking about addiction a lot of times. But I really appreciate just your transparency and being willing to like open up the real part, not just the cute like weight loss journey, like, yay, I tried this and now I'm all but no, like this stuff is real.
It's real. It's real, because a lot of people right now, they have this a white woman that made an industry out of being vegan. They caught her lying, about the industry, and they catch a lot of people who are on YouTube. And one doctor was saying, if you have not been doing it for at least 3 years, don't try to build a platform yet, because you don't know what's going to happen. So give yourself at least 3 years where you're doing it consistently. Like you're not letting your foot off the gas pedal in this, for you to know. And that's anything, give yourself some time to really be in the rhythm of that, because every person has a chance to go back into that addiction. And you don't even know how you might have gotten there. And it was just that one thing that you thought you was going to do. And that was another thing they said with your taste buds, when you're, going from the chicken to, tofu, if that's your thing. The thing is that your taste buds has to change. White people was like, oh, my taste buds change in 2 or 3 days. Baby, my taste buds are just slightly changing. And it's been 6 months. I'm still fighting my taste buds. Because the thing is that when you put something in your mouth that going against what you're doing vegan, then it resets your taste buds. Just like a drink will reset an alcoholic. If he has that one, look at Robin Williams. After 21 years, he had that one drink, and it spiraled him back into drinking. So it's believe me, like I said, it's an addiction. And I just hope that someone that is looking at this, who has wondered, or maybe really didn't even understand that they could be possibly addicted to food, those are some of the things. Because like Darren said, it's not just a little thing. It's just like if a drug or alcoholic does not have a drink or their drug. That's how food can become that addicting. And you will go through withdrawal. You will go through, fighting yourself. And like I say, I was in there crying. I was almost cussing my husband out. Like, man, because I was like, just give me a little piece. Give me a little taste. Does that not sound like an addict? Like, well, just let me have that and I should be okay. And he was like, no, you told me not to give it to you. And I'm like, man, I ain't get upset. I got pissed the hell off. Like, because he wouldn't give me that chicken wing in that moment that I was over here eating my beans and rice, and he was over here, and that's another thing, your environment, it's harder to fight when they say when your environment is not clean. You know, so if you're in the house with someone that's not eating, and you're not trying to put that on them because you love them because he supports me in everything I do with being vegan. But the thing is that trying to fight smelling that chicken or fish or French fries when he has that, and looking at my lentils and rice and saying, "Oh, this is so tasty." Baby, that was not my statement. That was not my statement.
What's up?
Yeah, it also makes me want to bring up the challenges around and this might, this is one of my unpopular opinions, but the challenges around abstinence only lifestyle changes and food changes or health changes, they tend to create these kind of unsustainable black and white. Either I can never have this again, or if I have it, I'm just gonna like completely give myself over to it. And what I've seen from people who have become vegan, people who become vegetarian, people become pescatarian, is that this is something that happens gradually over time. And just like you said, this is like a 3-year or more transition. Like people think, okay, just cut everything out tomorrow. I'm gonna throw everything out tomorrow. You setting yourself up, boo boo. So instead,
Yes,
to be
you are.
thinking about what are the gradual changes? How can I be learning new recipes first, right? How can I be adding new habits in? And how can I build up the tolerance to be in the presence of stuff where I
Yes.
could say, I'm only going to have this much of it. I'm only going to have a spoonful. I'm only going to have a bite, and then go do something else, right? Because that's also the emotional, that's the mental, that's a whole new routine that's completely valid. But yeah, like we often don't get the support to realize that everybody who needs to make a change isn't going to make it all in a single swoop.
And
It
that's
is
been
going to
my
take a
biggest
lot of
battle. Yeah, that's
cycles.
been my biggest battle. And that's been the hardest thing for me to even feed to myself, is that I transitioned very quickly. And the thing was like, I was telling my husband the other day what I was saying, like I'm trying to view this again, because you have to look at your body as specifically for you. Some people have to have protein. That's the way their body works. So they might have to have it once a month of something. So I'm looking at that. I'm trying to see everything that my body is going to do for me. I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping up with my tests. Going, make sure, 3 months, 6 months, whatever I need to do to see, is this really working for me? And if it's not, what do I need to reincorporate back for my body specifically? Because that's the part I just couldn't get, was just like, okay, Delisha, everything doesn't work for everybody. You might have to put a piece of fish back into, but let's see where we can go with this, and then see what happens with your numbers. And if your numbers are cool with it, then okay. But if your numbers are not, we're going to have to revisit this and try to figure out, what do I need to incorporate back into my diet in order for me to keep it and be sustainable for a long haul. Like I said, it's called a lifestyle, not just a change. It's a lifestyle. It's every day. That's what I live, eat, breathe. That's what I'm trying to do now. And I just want other people that's viewing this to understand that it's not overnight. It's not overnight success, and it's not microwavable. And especially when you got to remember, like my sister, she's a nurse. She always said people want to change overnight, but you've been doing this to your body or your taste buds for 30, 40, 50 years. Because there's people who are vegan, who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they're just coming into it, late 40s, early 50s. And so the thing is, that's what they're saying. It's time. The time is the thing of all for everyone. Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite organizations. It's called Creature Kind. And like the website is becreaturekind.org. And one of the ways that they advocate at a systemic level is, you're probably not going to get every university and school to just suddenly go to an all plant-based protein diet, but you can probably get them to start doing things like default vegan. That is, if you're having an event like at a club or a special dinner or something, by default, make the proteins all plant-based and have people opt in to getting an animal-based protein. And what ends up happening is, one, instead of just saying vegan, like, talk about what is it. Nobody wants something that's just like meat. No, you say, oh, this is this, and it tastes like this, and you describe the food. Don't just label it. And in doing so, you could ask right, and you could ask your school to do that for one meal a month. You could ask your school to do that for one meal a week, and it literally helps people, because the food packing processing industry is harmful. It helps us learn that, oh, every time I go out to an Ethiopian restaurant, those are usually vegan. Every time I go out to an Indian restaurant, more than half the menu is probably vegan. And when people start incorporating those kind of changes into everyday things, your wedding might be default vegan. And in doing so, you have introduced people to, oh, I could really enjoy a whole dinner, a whole day that was completely vegan. And because I didn't think of it as, oh, we're going to have vegan. I didn't think of it as, oh, I'm being denied something. Instead, I've got this wonderful, rich, tasty, aromatic, feel good menu. Then we get this opportunity to realize, oh, I can enjoy things in a different way instead of it feeling like something's being taken away from you.
Good point. Good point. That part right there is critical, especially when people feel like they're being deprived of what they want and feeling like, oh, they're suffering and they got to live at a lower standard of life than someone else. Just that adjustment, and understanding that you can do it differently. You don't have to cold turkey it. You don't have to eat something definitively that is gross. There are recipes out there, plenty of them that are available that can be satisfying, that we have yet to really even discover, because especially as African Americans, we've been conditioned to love our fried chicken and our fried fish and our soul food, and it's our comfort food, and there's a
Don't
truth.
make me hungry now.
And I want to hear from Antwan and Angie as well, but there's some truth to that, in regards to it being comfort food. There are certain foods that trigger, again, as we were saying, dopamine, when consumed at high volumes and so forth, that can make us remember what it was like to be a kid. I, being here in LA, there aren't a lot of soul food restaurants around, so I feel deprived of my soul food. So I will find myself at a Popeyes trying to get a taste of some fried chicken, some overpriced fried chicken, under-seasoned fried chicken, not good like my mama fried chicken, but the memory of just having fried chicken, sets off a level of comfort and dopamine that, will cause me to go get some more fried chicken next week. Let's do it again. And, that adjusting to understand, hey, there are chicken alternatives. I have fell in love with the veggie burger. I am a veggie burger eating brother, and I never thought that I would love veggie burgers the way that I do. They're easier on my system. They're delicious. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't read through exactly all of the ingredients, but I would tell you I feel better after eating them. I would tell you, I could tell the difference between when I eat a beef burger and a veggie burger. My digestive system thanks me differently. It flows differently, and all of that has value, and so just adjusting in that one area was profound for me, because again, I was no veggie. It's a veggie. Ooh, a veggie patty. Who eat veggie with veggie? It didn't make sense. But, just allowing myself to learn and be inundated to doing things differently have definitely opened up my eyes to seeing that I don't have to deprive myself of a good tasting burger. And I don't have to indulge in, fast food burgers to be satisfied. So with that said, I want to toss the mic over to Antwan so he can, tell his experience with any of these addictions or any other addictions, whether they be directly or indirectly.
Yes, I directly did not have those addictions. Thank God. I just seen it through family and whatnot and helped and prayed with them. And I could have became victim of having food addictions until I was diagnosed with having MS in 2008. And because I was diagnosed with that, when you diagnosed with something, you start becoming a science. You start doing research on what foods to eat, what foods not to eat. And that's when I start working out and everything. And since I live downtown now, Whole Foods not a mile from me, it's around the corner from me. And so, I hardly ever fry anything since I've been living. I fried food like 2 or 3 times since I lived here. In a few weeks, gonna be 5 years. But I mostly bake everything fits. And I eat sweets by spells, unless it's fruit by spells. I could buy a whole thing of sweets, but don't eat it unless I have a taste for it. But I had one of my actors came over here, she brought her children, and her church like, can I get this, can I get that? And I'm like, they not gonna stay here with me. Go ahead, get all of it.
When you say that you were able to, support someone, through prayer, can you tell us more about like what their specific struggle was and how you witnessed it and how it may have impacted, their life or the lives of those around you?
Well, this person loved all sort of sweets and all sort of over salted fried food. Oh, side note, I don't use season. I don't use seasoned salt. Mm-hmm. But I told them they are diabetics. They have this. They have that. They have that. This person had to get their whole leg cut off. This person had to get their toes cut off. So you could. I can't. You can. Antwan, I don't eat that, but I'm not gonna. It's not an overnight thing. But guess what? Do you remember you said your church called a fast? Participate in that fast. I can't. No, you can do it. Matter of fact, come over here. I can help you with that. I prayed with my cousin and whatnot. Because like a lot of things you cannot do on your own.
Very true. That's very true.
Just like working out, sometimes you need that workout partner. Because some people can't work out by themselves. Some people go in the gym, just sit there like, what I'm supposed to do? They need some type of motivation. Because everybody will be on Facebook looking, seeing they big little brother working out. Like, okay, wait, hold on. Let's get to the gym right now.
Right.
I ain't say no name though.
I mean, I try to get it, because being here in LA, there is a thing about appearance, people coming in and out of the city that are attractive. But more so
capital of plastic surgery and everything else.
yeah, that part. But mostly, I begin to find value in being healthy and find value in challenging myself out of my comfort zone with, especially with COVID, challenging myself to get back in the gym, challenging myself to learn swimming, challenging myself in areas where, I could easily just say, hey, I don't work out. Hey, I can't swim. But realizing that, and I was saying this to Antwan earlier, when God made man, he made such a powerful instrument where we're capable of so much. We're capable of so much. It's like an empty slate. And so just realizing that as a man, I have the ability to change if I want to see this change. I appreciate what you said, Delisha, about it being a process. I ain't wake up one day, hey, I'm about to work out, and that was it. And all the muscles came in, and it was that was the one workout for the year. No, the change has been gradual and consistent, and it has required perseverance. It requires dedication. It requires self motivation, because to Antwan's point, I didn't have a workout partner. I looked for one, and it was hard to get someone else to commit to the journey of being healthier and commit to a time of working out. So it's like, okay, well, Fidel, are you going to sit here all day and complain about not having someone, or are you going to make your way to this gym and figure it out? Don't be the one, like Antwan was saying, where you're sitting at the gym looking like, I don't know what to do. Figure it out. Pick some up. Go study. Go before. So sometimes before I go to the gym, I study the moves and the workouts that I'm going to do before I get there, so I can know exactly how to do it, how to do it right, how to make it effective. That takes a dedication. That takes a wanting to do better. That takes an acknowledgement that I don't know. So I need to, as a man, go acquire that knowledge, because we have the ability as men to acquire knowledge and change ourselves. People perish. Why?
Lack of knowledge.
For the lack of knowledge. And so me realizing that I didn't have to perish. I don't have to perish. I can learn what I need to learn to be a healthier man. I can take the steps that I need to do to be more mentally healthy. Don't let your mind don't let your mind deteriorate. I have my grandmother, God bless her heart, has recently been diagnosed with dementia. And I believe very strongly that it was an onset of actively engaging her mind and reading and learning, and because just because you're older in age doesn't mean that you have to stop learning. You have to stop taking care of yourself. That doesn't mean you just sit around and wither and die. No, that's when you fight harder for life. That's when you fight harder to live your best you. Hell, you've been here 60 years, you deserve it. You've been here 70 years, you deserve to live your best you. Betty White, God bless her heart, was cooking up to the age of 100. And I don't believe that that's a coincidence. Betty White stayed active. She stayed chasing life. She stayed pursuing life. She did not discredit herself because of her age. She didn't give up on herself at a certain number. And that's why she's revered the way that she is, because she's a model of how to go after it, how to continue to be effective in whatever lane you're in. You're not on the Golden Girls no more, but you could do a commercial. You could do a guest appearance here. You can go save the dogs and the animals. And all of that is a part of replacing bad habits with good habits. Being willing to, hey, when you're feeling a craving, go for a walk. Get out the house. Don't get away from the refrigerator. When you're feeling the need, and I want to talk about these other addictions such as stealing and gambling and shopping. Shopping, let's talk about this shopping. During this COVID, Amazon, my God.
Mind your business.
Got so much of my money. And so it was easy to click. And you do get a shot of dopamine with every click, with the anticipation of the arrival of the product that you just ordered. And sometimes you get it and sit it in the box. It sit in the box for 2, 3, 4 days, a week before you ever get to it. It's that shot of dopamine of just getting that click, the click. And so,
Ouch.
I've learned, walk away from the cart, Fidel. Walk away. If you still desire this product tomorrow, in the next 2 days, matter of fact, if you come back 4 days later to the cart, 9 times out of 10, you didn't need it. Wasn't that important. You about to write dead. Your next day is going to get it tomorrow, but you just went 4 days without thinking about it. So do you really need it? Oh, if I could return some of this stuff I got that's past the return date that I just opened because I didn't really need it when I bought it. Now when I'm ready to return it, I got to fight for the return. Oh, this is real. This is real. I'm not much on the gambler. I'm not much of a gambler because I don't like to lose. And me and gambling, they never, ever did real well together. Just don't. I'm blessed in other ways. I would love to go to a slot machine and have all them coins like on the cartoon come out. But gambling ain't been my MO. I would tell you just shopping. I'm not much of a, I don't steal. I try stealing. I'm gonna tell you, we getting real because we're gonna get real. I was 13 years old. And they had a little nudie magazine in the Borders. So I said, I want this magazine. Whoever was on that cover, I wanted the magazine. So I grabbed the magazine, slip it under my coat, and I walk on out. Happy with this magazine. Boo, and I tell you that thing sat on my conscience. It sat like, it was the thing don't touch. I had to take that magazine right back and sneak it back on the shelf because the guy wasn't playing with me with the stealing. That just wasn't gonna be my thing. I didn't feel good about it. It did not bring the satisfaction that I thought it would, and having learned that lesson, I don't play that game and stealing. I tried one more time later, maybe like 15, and God was like, well, you're not gonna learn. I think I was dating this girl. And my aunt had given me some money, like $70 for Great American. I went into the little trinket place or whatever, and it was just like a little whatever butterfly something. I'm like, it was like $12. I'm like, man, that'll cut into my $70. So I called myself gonna slip it in my pocket. It's cool, whatever. They're not gonna miss a little butterfly trinket. I get out the stove. Excuse me. King come here. And they walk me to the back, call my aunt. I get kicked out the park. When I tell you, stealing don't work for me. And I was a school trip, so my teacher found out I got kicked out. I was a good student, so it put a like, what the fuck was you? I mean, what the heck were you thinking?
You let the hood come out.
Out of all the people.
Right.
So that part, you know, just really deterred me from those patterns of behavior. But I would tell you that I really wish, going back to sugar specifically, I really wish that our culture gets a hold on of that as a drug and really call it what it is. The obesity, the decaying of your teeth. Good God Almighty, if I knew then what I know now.
Yes.
If I knew then, my dentists, I wouldn't know them that well. They know me too well.
Yes.
And it's because, hey, gummies. I don't know. And so now what I don't do is like cold turkey deprive myself, but I limit it. No, you're not about to buy 4 packs. What you need 4 packs for them? Talk about you gonna save it for later, and it's gonna be gone in 4 days.
Yes.
So stop fooling yourself. Stop playing games with yourself. Be honest. Be real. Be disciplined.
Yes.
Just get the one.
Yes.
And come back in 2 weeks and try it again and get another one if that's what it is. But you're not about to hoard and overdo it and binge and be excessive and overeat.
Yes. Well, Miss Angela, did you have something?
Well, I have found out that I have had addictive behaviors. So coming out of a marriage, I went to, and it was during a pandemic. So I was like, for Daryl, I began to shop. And I think that was because now I'm by myself. I get the pleasure of getting what I want when I want without nobody saying anything about what I bought and not feeling bad because I bought it. I get to do something for me without no repercussion. Mm-hmm. So I began to do that and continue to do it. And it felt good to actually have something that you work for and that you like, oh, okay. And it made me feel good. But then I kept doing it. And so then I would grocery shop, and it's nobody but me, but I began to shop and then cook. Mm-hmm. And I never did eat a lot. I'm one of those persons, I'm addicted to sugar as well, for Daryl. So I understand the sugar thing. So food wasn't my thing, it's the sugar that's in the food, or sugar that's in primarily the junk food. Mm-hmm. And so I would cook a lot, knowing that nobody was here to eat it. And then I would let the food sit in the refrigerator and I would throw it out. And so that became a pattern. And I had to say, what is wrong with you? Then, I would freeze some of it because I couldn't freeze all of it. So I would freeze some of it, but for the most part, it went to waste. So that now I'm wasting money. Mm-hmm. I'm not just buying stuff, not opening boxes. I'm buying stuff, cooking it and throwing it in the garbage. So, that became addictive. And I was like, oh, wow. So Holy Spirit steady talking in my ear. And I'm like, okay, I better listen. So then I stopped. I finally stopped cooking as much. So now I made a meatloaf the other week. And guess what? I put it in a little bitty old pan, and it was just enough for me. I didn't eat it all, but I was able to freeze, and it was just this much that I froze. So I felt good. So that's why I said I've had the addictive behaviors, because it was easy to stop. So I've learned when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, you need to what?
Listen.
Key. You have got to listen. Yeah. And I did the same thing with the shopping. So I still do online shop. That online shopping is the best thing. It's the best. But I don't do it just to be doing now. I do it if I need something, or not for the sake of just buying it. It's a purpose behind the buying. A legitimate purpose, not something that I fooled myself into. Right. So I've gotten a lot better with that. So, but what is an ongoing cycle with me? I just went to the doctor and I did know it. He said, you gained some weight. And I was like, well, I haven't eaten anything, because, and I try to watch what I eat, but I know what it is. So when he said that, and I stood on the scale, I said, something wrong with your scale, right? They laugh, say, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, take some pounds off, right? But I know it's because of the sugar. And I think somebody said something about, it might have been you, Fadera, about, and I said, oh, wow, I'm going to do that. Instead of going cold turkey on the sugar, start eliminating sugar a little bit at a time. Because every freaking thing you eat has what in it?
Sugar.
And I've tried so many times to eliminate sugar from my diet, and it's like literally impossible. So I'm going to just try eliminating a little at a time. Like I love coffee in the morning, but I only drink one cup. I just be needing a little something. But so now they have the coffee liquid creamer that has dairy free, and it has so many grams of sugar, so little. And that's all I need. That's all I need. Just a little to wet my whistle and I'm good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with that. So my thing is I gotta find what I like.
Yes.
And stick with it. So in order to find what I like, I'm gonna have to go through some stuff, and I'm ready.
Yeah. And then that's the thing. That's the thing when you're ready.
That's what I'm gonna do, because I'm going to beat the sugar addiction.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to, I know I need to do a lot of other things, and that's exercise, but I always fall on because I got a bad knee, which I do. And I got osteoarthritis and tendonitis in my right knee. And sometimes it shifts to my left knee. I know, but still I need to incorporate a little bit more than what I'm doing. I don't have to walk 2 blocks, but I could at least go look, try to walk to the corner and back. You know what I mean? So at lunchtime, I said, I'm just going to incorporate some activity a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time is better than nothing at all.
Exactly.
So
yes, well,
it's something about those addictive behaviors that can become addictive.
A full-blown addiction. Yes. So. Well, I'm glad you're taking a mindset of starting small, because they said it does take 21 days to form a habit. And so, we as Christians, we talk about the 40 days and 40 nights, Jesus was in the wilderness and stuff, but that 40 is very significant, because that gives you 2 chances to, start over, just in case you mess up the first 21. But it is, like I said, it is a thing of starting and just forming the habit and just continuing to do it and fight your way through it. Believe me, it's not easy. But the one thing that I've learned, and I always have done successfully, is if I do fall, get back up, dust myself off, and be like, okay, I don't, condemn myself to the point of not returning to what I know is best for me and good for me, and just talking about the shopping, I was addicted to shopping, but not with the pandemic. I was addicted to shopping before. And I didn't even realize it. Once again, I was just, shopping and just like, okay, I'm living in Tucson, Arizona. I'm working at IBM at the time, and the salary that I was making was like a queen's ransom living in Tucson. So I had I could buy anything that I wanted. There was no price limit on anything. But the part where it became an addiction was I started shopping with my corporate American Express card. That's when and the thing was that at the time, our monthly, we had an unlimited American Express. So if you could pay it, they would let you pay for it, And the thing was that it almost cost me my job. That's when I stopped abruptly. It wasn't no time getting used to that. The thing was that I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing it. So in a sense, it's coupled with the addiction of stealing at the same time of the shopping. It coupled into one. And so once they found out that I was doing it, they put my limit down to 10,000. But I literally was having to lie once again about take money out from my 401k to pay off the American Express so I wouldn't get fired. Because once they found out that I was doing it and caught up with me, I had been doing it almost 2 years before they even knew the difference. And I was and I know it was an addiction because I was charging up $5,000 a month on clothes and shoes and purses. But I tell you one thing, and I tell this testimony all the time, one night, I thought I was going out my mind. I had an anxiety attack. And the Holy Spirit, and when the enemy said, go in there and get some of them shoes. Go in there and get that purse. That purse, them shoes, and them clothes could not hug me. I had to call my mother and have her talk me through it and get through it and pray with me. And that was the moment that I realized that there's nothing materialistic for me specifically. There's nothing materialistic that can give me a peace of mind that surpasses what God can give me. That's why when he said peace that passes all understanding, that was my moment when I understood peace does pass all understanding. Because if you got God's peace in that moment, when I thought I was going out of my mind, he was the only one I could call on. And even though I was mad at him, I would call my mama, and she had the God in her help me get through that moment of anxiety. But like I said, it was the stealing, but I didn't associate it with stealing. Again, I didn't want to put that label on it. I don't steal, but I was stealing because that was company money that I was using in the wrong way. So that is stealing because I'm doing something with monetary benefits that I'm not supposed to do. And so, like I said, again, shopping can be addictive. And I didn't get into the Amazon and stuff, when we were, going through the pandemic, because thanks be to God, was delivered from that portion, because I was like, you about to lose your job at this company that don't even hardly have Blacks work here. You about to lose your job that gives you a queen's ransom because of shopping, because of this purse, because of this shoe. And when you look at it like that and you tell yourself, like, a shoe and a purse, what was I thinking? Would it have been worth my job? By God's grace, he allowed me to stay. They told me, baby, cut up your card. Don't even think about going back to spending nothing on it. If you need something, a pencil or a pen, because you work at home, no, go through your manager. And that brings embarrassment, because your manager knows, because they contact your manager and tell them, oh, well, this is why Delisha Reese can't use her American Expresses, because da-da-da-da-da-da. That brings another element of shame, of discredit. You're discrediting yourself, and it gives the enemy, of course, an opportunity just to fiddle and play on you and condemn you. Oh, you a Christian, you up here stealing. I'm like, no, I'm not. Oh, you stealing. Oh yeah, you stealing. You addicted to shopping. Like, because you're hiding it and you're trying, you going all the way around and you taking from your money that you're supposed to retire with. Oh, that's an addiction, baby. That ain't, there's no, like you said, Angie, compulsive thing to do. Like Darren said earlier, when you get into the point where it's detrimental to you, that's when I call it, an addiction, because that's how the food was. I was hiding, I was doing lying, at one point, like 13 or 14 years old, I was stealing my mother's money. She was the secretary for one of the church groups. And I was stealing her money, going buying donuts, them Hot Evans corn chips. I don't know if y'all remember them. Them Hot Evans corn chip, Cheeto, whatever, Flaming Hots, whatever. I was stealing her money, God's money, didn't even realize at the time, to buy food. That's why I said my point and my reference with food definitely is an addiction, because I remember those days, and I remember going to 63rd and Halsted and getting the biggest donut, big as my head, every morning. I was supposed to be on a school bus. I wouldn't take the school bus. Oh, I took the bus and the train. What I had to jump on there to go to 63rd and Halsted to get a big donut every morning, and then when I left school, take some more money and go and get some more junk and eat that on the way home. And like I say, lying and stealing, eating it before I even get home, because I don't want them to know I got it. And then I don't want them to know that I'm stealing her money. And she didn't recognize for a long time. And then when she thought that it was, then when she realized it was gone, she was blaming my father. And I was like, oh, well, good. She don't think it's me. 13 and 14 years old. So that's why I said there are so many elements in our lives in thinking that we're doing something, and it is just we're doing it, but it's so much behind why we're doing it, and it's so much behind the trauma of why you think that you need, because I've always been a church girl, and I'm like, didn't realize you're stealing the money. At one point I did, and it's like, wow, once she confronted my dad, that's when I realized, because she said, oh, you're stealing my money. And that's when I was like, is that stealing? Because in my 13 and 14-year-old mind, I didn't think it was stealing. I just thought, I just want to take it to go and get this corn chip and this junk, because she didn't have it otherwise. So in order to, for me to saturate my feelings and emotions at the time of what I was going through at 13 and 14, I eat it away. But in the moment, again, I was back to the food addiction for Darryl.
Yeah, I mean, that's profound, to think that started that young, and even into our adulthood, we're still wrestling with those same urges, which shows that, it's deeper and much more complex oftentimes than cold turkey, because it could show up, addiction could show up in multiple forms. It could, like you said, it shifted from just a shopping addiction to an addiction to stealing and shopping.
Yes.
And so when you're dealing with compulsive behavior and addictive behavior, it's important to, as you stated at the beginning, to get to the root, to get down to why we're doing this. Why is this so difficult to let go? Why does it overpower you, the urges? Why you can facilitate to some degree knowingly your own destruction, and that's in eating, that's in stealing, because there's always a probability you're going to get caught. You go in the store, you steal multiple times, at some point you're going to get caught, and there are consequences that, have you ever seen somebody steal, get caught, and then break down crying?
Yes. Oh, yes.
You don't realize the consequences, and you don't really want to deal with those consequences, but those consequences
house cry.
Mm-hmm. And those consequences are very real. And to see them last and linger, those consequences, you know, such as like with me, consuming sugar, you know, to now have to deal in my 40s with the dentist in a way that I don't want to have to deal with him. I love my smile, but Lord have mercy, I don't want to have to, you know, deal with the dentist now. So those consequences weren't just a momentary, you know, hey, I ate a bunch of candy, I got sick. You know, those consequences, no, I ate a bunch of candy, I lost a couple of my teeth. You know, and now at a certain age, you know, I'm wanting those teeth back, and I'm regretting those decisions, and just realizing that if I want to save the rest of these jokers, the responsibility is on me. I have to make the adjustment. I have to acknowledge where the error is, and I have to save myself, understanding that, I'm going to say this and then we can close out. The body is the temple.
Yes.
And we only get one. This is you may live in a building and have an address, but this is your first address. If we take you out of the building, put you on Mars, if we come looking for you, we're not going to find you in the building. We got to come to where this is to find you. This is your address. And if you understand that this is your home, this is where you live, you have to value the sacredness of that. Because if you lose it, if you become disabled, Antwan was talking about, you know, his cousin having to lose a foot, lose some toes, you know, for not caring for your address, not caring for your home, not caring for the sacredness of your temple. Not to get super deep, but who else gonna care for it? Who else is gonna? Ain't nobody sitting there feeding you. You're feeding yourself. So you have to care for how them organs are working. You know, nobody about to sit you on the table except a doctor, you know, but you gotta pay for that. We know your husband. Nobody can force you to take care of yourself. You have to own that. And taking care of yourself in gambling and in all the other addictions that we've mentioned, as we stated, they're treatable. You can treat the addiction. With that said, I want to offer this hotline, SAMHSA National Hotline, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration. They have a helpline at 1-800-662-4357, 1-800-662-HELP. It's also known as the Treatment Referral Routing Service, where it's free. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, where they offer information service in English and Spanish for individuals and family members facing mental and/or substance abuse use disorders. This service provides referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, and community-based organizations. And you can find them at SMHSA.gov. So this is a government organization that has been set up within our country to help those who are struggling with mental disorders, substance abuse, whether it be food, whether it be whatever. There is help available. You do not have to stay that way unless you choose to. While we understand that it is a process to overcome, overcoming first starts with the realization that there is a problem and acknowledging that there is a problem. And then the next part is the desire to want to do something about it. Some people understand they have a crack problem and don't want to do anything about it, and so they don't seek help. It's at that point when you say, I want to do something about it, that this resource becomes valuable. So again, that number is 1-800-662-HELP. If you know someone who's struggling, if you know someone who has addictive behaviors and is addicted to shopping or any of the things that we mentioned, and even other addictions, please feel free to reach out. With that said, I want to thank my panelists. I want to thank Delisha for facilitating, Antwan, Darren, who had to jump off, as well as Angela for guys sharing your story. Your story matters. Your voice matters. This conversation matters. Hopefully, someone that's watching can get something out of it. And as the season finale, as we close out this season, I want to thank you guys for your support. I want to thank everyone who's been supportive of the show. We got some great things coming up, podcasts. We have season 2, which we've already kind of mapped out. And so we got some more hot topics coming up. And so I just want to say, stick with us. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, ideas, feel free to email me at hello@federalonline.com. Again, thank you guys for taking the time out to have this conversation, and I bid you guys a great, great, great day.